Manny, look at this pelican fly. Come on, pelican.
Hello, I'm Gustavo, and this is Stories from Cinema. Scarface is a remake from 1932's Scarface, The Shame of a Nation, and yet it's one of the most influential and quoted movies, as well as one of the best gangster movies ever made. Director Brian de Palma is very well known by cinephiles, and this movie is a perfect example of his ability as a filmmaker. With Oliver Stone as the screenwriter, Brian de Palma delivered a perfectly written story, with famous quoted dialogues that constitute an added value to the film. The story follows the rise and fall of Cuban refugee Tony Montana, who due to his enormous greed decides to make a name for himself, and become as rich as to wipe out the memories of a distant hell in Cuba. There's a lot to praise in this movie, and very little to criticize. Perhaps the only bad things about this movie are some of the common mistakes of continuity, as well as Tony's car disappearing occasionally, but nothing that gets you out of the story. Also, some issues with the acting I will talk about in a bit. I admire Oliver Stone's screenplay in this one. He knows how to write characters and set certain goals for them throughout the run of the movie. His best one is of course Tony Montana, making the spectator relate and sometimes admire his audacity and tenacity.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
The secondary characters are wonderful and have a key role to play in the development of the plot, and the acting really supports this claim. Steven Bauer as Manny Rivera, Michelle Pfeiffer as Elvira, and Mary Elizabeth Mastradonio as Jinan help us care about Tony himself, because by caring about his relatives and his family, we care about what could happen with his life. I have a slight issue with the character of Elvira. Michelle Pfeiffer is great at portraying her, but her character is not as well written as, say, Tony Montana or Manny Rivera, her counterparts. Al Pacino as Tony Montana is one of the greatest characters in cinema history. I will consider this role as his best one, but Michael Corleone from The Godfather is more of my liking.
Michael, do you believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth?
I do.
But still, Tony Montana is a pop culture symbol, a quoted celebrity that people all around the world see as an example of what hard work can get you, but also how greed can kill you. I consider Al Pacino's acting as Tony Montana as one of the best acting pieces in cinema history. The work among the screenwriter, the director, and the actors is what gets this film going, and what gives life to it. The story has many lessons throughout, showing how drugs, violence, organized crime, and money can drive a nation even more than anything else. The story is focused on abuse of power, abuse of money, of substances, of greed, of trust, of work. The characters in this film are always seeking to gain more power, and with that, more money. But for what? To live an empty life in an empty mansion, surrounded by people who at any minute can betray you? The world is yours, as they say, but have they thought about having control of their own lives? Perhaps your life is yours? The characters do not care what happens to them, so as long their work gets them material stuff and power. Power. It doesn't matter if they abuse of drugs, because they already reach a point in their lives when they can go upward anymore, and all that's left is fall for small bits of excitement that could potentially get them killed. This film makes us ask ourselves, do we want to get to a point where we have it all, except for love and trust? Or also, is it worthwhile to work out of the lines of the law just to reach a fantastic goal and earn meaningless power? Even if we are not in a position of power or rank, this film helps us revisualize our goals and the people we want to spend our lives with, as well as our relations and how our goals affect them. This film involved a lot of investigation, something that almost got director Brian de Palma killed. Because of this, the film has a lot of moralizing content that helped it keep its R rating, rather than an even more restrictive one. Because of the tragic ending in this film, experts state that this film will dissuade junkies and wannabe mobsters from following their paths, making it an anti-drug, anti-violent movie. This film also has lessons for workaholics, because Tony Montana always thinks about working, and it is shown when Elvira tells him he's always talking about money, something she doesn't like.
Can't you stop saying fuck all the time? Can't you stop talking about money? It's boring, Tony.
Where did you go from?
Money, 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 money. Money, that's all I ever hear in this house.
They both have an existential void in their lives, and all Tony's work to get there as well as Elvira's junkie life, made them lose their way. Tony Montana has all he ever wanted, yet he is as empty as ever. I can't stress this enough, but the dialogues in this movie are remarkable. No doubt why anyone can remember these scenes.
I know. The eyes, Chico. They never lied. Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend! Okay. You want to play rough? Okay. Okay, to London? Huh?
Something I find incredible about this film is the use of music by Giorgio Moroder. At first, it threw me off a little because I was not used to this type of music in a gangster movie, but then I saw this was not a common gangster movie, and I saw how they used it and dubbed it. To me, the OST is one of the main features of this film. The cinematography is phenomenal. John A. Alonzo does a great job showing the landscapes, and more specifically, the great interiors found in this movie, which leads me to my next point. Their production design. Bruce Weintraub was the lead set designer, and I really love how the interiors were decorated. And this is very important, because people with money should have homes that honor their power. This film is a classic gangster Pacino movie, though taking it even further, making it a deep and reflective film about excess, avarice, and power, and how our goals are what help us keep going. We must always remember that having the world at your mercy is not something we should experience, but something we should strive for. If we balance working and enjoying life, always with our mind focused into one specific, exceptional goal, we will never reach that perfect life. But we will very much enjoy our stay in this world, and we will not lack a purpose that could lead us to any kind of excess. If you like this video, I would highly appreciate if you share it and comment down below which movie do you want me to talk about and analyze next. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.